Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the DM's Guide to the Tomb of Annihilation. I'm really excited today because we're now on level 3, the Fault of Reflection. This, in my opinion, is the best level of the Tomb of the Nine Gods. So I'll give you a quick overview of what to expect. So we have two Trickster Gods. We have Ijin's tomb here at 35, and we have Kuzuban's tomb at 42. The rest of this level is dedicated to the Beholder on area 44. Level 3 is his domain. So as you go through this level, you have a number of crystal eyes you collect. If you collect all 10 crystal eyes, you can access Beholder's tomb, and you can fight him as a mini-boss and collect his loot. In this level, there's lots of small puzzles, and some of them could be taken as quite mundane. However, if you spice up a little bit, they become really fun. So in this episode today, we're going to focus on Ijin's tomb and what you'll expect when you go there. Your characters have descended to level 3. What's the first thing they see? Well, they see this plaque in the wall on 7C, and they notice that there's alien growth throughout the whole level. When your characters roam this level, you can see purple mold on the floor, and occasionally an eye stalk will fly out, and it might ridicule your players in Undercommon. If your characters destroy these patches of mold, they'll get attacked by a random eye stalk from the Beholder. So one thing we'll go through is, I'll explain the Beholder in more detail next episode. It's very exciting, but today I'm focusing on the puzzles to Ijin's tomb. Well, let's begin. So what is on the plaque at 7C? A Serac's third warning. Walk through water with weapon in hand. Slake your shadow at the front. The vulture is the first step. Write the gods. The walls of history tell all. Walk through water with weapon in hand is the clue to 31, Fault of Reflection. Slake your shadow at the front is the clue for here, 33. The vulture is the first step is the clue for Ijin's tomb. Write the gods is the clue here for 39. And the walls of history tell all is the clue for Kuzuban's tomb in 42. The characters have a couple of choices. Do they go south? Do they go west? Or do they go north? Well, if they go north, they'll find Area 29, and that is your first insight into Ijin's tomb. When I discuss Ijin's tomb on level 2 in the Dungeon of Deception, this is quite a complex puzzle. You can access this room from the top, you can access it from the south, and you can also access it from the east. So what do your characters see when they see into this tomb from Area 29? Area 29, Jackal Mask. A huge carving of a snarling jackal's head protrudes from the wall at the end of this corridor. A chamber is visible through the gates between its fangs. The gaps between the fangs of this jackal's mask are 2 inches wide, and if your characters look through this, they can see this. 4 torches illuminate stone sphinxes crouched in the corners of this 15-foot high room. The torches cast flickering light across hieroglyphs carved into the tiled floor at the centre of this room. A gold inlaid funeral barge steps atop a 3-foot tall stone dais. Resting on the desk of the barge is a small golden sarcophagus decorated with horned rabbits. A dark shaft opens in the ceiling directly above the barge. So what do we know of this so far? And so we know that we've seen horned rabbits, which is symbol for Ijin. We've seen a dark shaft opens directly above, which is access level 2. And we have 4 sphinxes in the corners. With the jackal's jaws, we're watching this as a view from the past. If your characters continue to watch, they'll notice the last character who went into the tomb. A slab of wall suddenly grinds upwards to the east, and a dwarf wearing a turban and chainmail creeps into the tomb. He brandishes the shield in front of him as he treads cautiously across the floor. We're looking at a recording of Bravis Boulderhorn, hero of the Company of the Yellow Banner. We've met his colleagues in level 2. Since this is in the past, if your characters try to talk with him, it doesn't work, because they're watching the equivalent to a video recording. As your characters continue to watch, a loud click sounds as the dwarf steps onto one of the floor tiles. Then a deafening buzzing rises as locusts pour out from the mouths of the Sphinx statues, quickly engulfing him. He tries to fight them off to no avail. When the cloud of insects vanishes, nothing of the dwarf remains except its bones and gear. And if your characters look away and look back, this vision will repeat. If your characters cast a detect magic spell, they notice an aura of divination magic, and your characters can use teleportation to access the tomb, or they can use Gassie's form, and as they arrive inside, you can see the mouldering skeleton of the dwarf. If your characters access this from level 2, they would have no idea how this tomb would work. So if you access level 2, you get out by teleporting out of this mouth, or going back the way you came. If you access the tomb through 29, you can see the trap triggering, I have an idea what's expected. To access the east entrance, Area 35, your characters have to go down the hallway, take a left, and go through Area 31. So what is Area 31 then? Area 31, Reflected Hall. Still puddles of water cover the floor of this 15-foot wide hallway. The walls are slick with moisture, and set with murals showing animal-headed humanoids in armour, most of which appear to brandish real weapons, hanging on the walls. A 3-foot-high crawlway in the east wall is flush with the floor. At the far end of the hall, a rippling transparent curtain of water fills a stone archway. Beyond the curtain you see another hallway that looks similar to the one in which you stand in. This hallway is the reason why I'm actually doing this series, because I read this over and over and over again and got incredibly confused. And finally I gave up and I drew this out, and it allowed me to actually think through the puzzle and figure it for myself. The main thing is here you have diagrams on the walls, you have diagrams on the west wall and the east wall, and they're mirror images of each other. It's also all these diagrams in the south are the exact same as in the north, and they mirror each other again. I made a very big mistake when I played this online with my party because I hid this from the players, except in these niches here, I left a small gap. And my characters seen it on the map, and the first thing they did was investigate this. That's one thing to watch out for. What happens here then? Well, let's look at a different point of view. Your characters arrive from the south, so they see different murals on the walls. They see a humanoid with a stork's head holding hand axes. And between his legs, he has a small crawlway which accesses a different area of the tomb. The next picture he sees is a humanoid female with a lizard's head, and she's holding a mace. The next image they see is a humanoid male with a panther's head, holding blowguns. And the fourth image they see is a humanoid female with a hawk's head, and she's unarmed. This image is an illusion. So as your characters perceive this and put their hands through this, they notice that there's a hidden area behind. And behind it you can see a pedestal, and it contains a glass eye. This glass eye allows your characters to access the vault which the beholder resides. So they see a humanoid female with a hawk's head, and she's unarmed. The next image is a humanoid male with a goat's head with sickles. Finally you see a humanoid female with a frog's head carrying a trident. Directly in front you'll see a wall made of water. If you walk through this waterfall, you see the exact same, it's just completely mirrored. So for instance, first thing you see is humanoid female with frog's head, then male goat's head, then hawk female unarmed. And then behind here again, you have another glass eye that will allow you to access the beholder's vault. And at the end you'll see the stork male holding hand axes, and he also has a crawlway between his legs that goes to another room as well. So that's a massive mouthful. The main thing you have is, you've got wall pictures, and behind the hawk female that's unarmed, there's a separate space behind an illusion that has a glass eyeball that will allow you to access the vault to meet the beholder. So if your characters run through this waterfall, what happens? Well, if they're holding a trident, which you can take off the wall, so all these images are actually holding real weapons except from the hawk female. So they can pick up the trident. If they're holding the trident in their hand, they can walk right through. If they're not, this waterfall is going to explode and it's going to push them down the hallway. So you can dispel this with the Dispel Magic with a DC of 17. And if you walk through without a trident, you make a DC 15 strength saving throw and you get flown back to the end of the corridor and you take 4d6 worth of damage. So that is the Vault of Reflection. So you come through here on the south. You have a crawlway that accesses to 36. You walk through, you see all the murals on the walls. Here is the hawk-headed female on both sides. And each of these contains an eye which will allow you to access the Beholder's Vault. On area 44B, if you collect all 10 eyes, you can access this vault. If you walk through here without a trident, you're knocked back to here, and you're knocked prone and you take 4d6 of damage. If you grab a trident off the wall from here, you can walk through safely. And yeah, if you walk through to the north, you have this crawlway here, and that allows you to access Area 32. Finally, we're now on the east entrance to Ijin's tomb. So your characters have now arrived at Ijin's tomb, Area 35. So when we look at it from a top view, we can see there's Area 34, 35A, and 35B. What is Area 34? Area 34, Peephole. This corridor turns sharply to the left. At the corner just before the turn, a peephole is carved into the stone wall at the height of 6 feet. So what does this peephole look at then? Well, if they look through the peephole in 34, they'll see the style. 35A, the stone block. The corridor ends at a block of stone on which is painted a 7-foot tall jackal-headed humanoid, with a circular gold medallion around its neck. All around the figure are carvings of locusts. So the circular gold medallion that this jackal-headed humanoid is wearing is actually a 6-inch diameter gold disc engraved with the face of a horned owl, his mouth agape. Lodged behind this disc is a gladeile etched with 8 hieroglyphs. These hieroglyphs are a clue for Ijin's tomb, and they represent what tile you have to stand on to open the sarcophagus. The first hieroglyph you can see is a vulture, and each time you step on the corresponding floor tile, a new hieroglyph is shown. If your characters investigate this, they notice that it's glued with solvent glue, and which can be removed with a universal solvent, or they can simply destroy it to get the dial underneath so they can read it easier. However, if they do destroy it, gas escapes through tiny holes behind the dial and fills a 5-foot space directly east of the block. Any character in this area, when it's released, has to make a DC 14 Constitution saving throw or take 8d10 acid damage on a failed save. If your characters have a very high perception, they make a perception check with a DC of 25, and they see these holes can be plugged with wax before the dial is removed. If you characters look closely enough, they notice that the carvings of the locusts are actually, it reveals that one of them is a button. So if they press the button, the stone block will descend and allow access into Ijin's tomb, Area 35B. 4 torches illuminate stone sphinxes crouched in the corners of this 15-foot high room. The torches cast flickering light across hieroglyphs carved into the tiled floor. At the centre of the room, a golden-laid funeral barge steps atop a 3-foot tall stone dais. Resting on the deck of the barge is a small golden sarcophagus, decorated with horned rabbits. A dark shaft opens in the ceiling directly above the barge, while to the south, a corridor is visible through the set of fangs carved into the wall. The skeleton of a dwarf sprawls on the floor east of the barge, cast in tattered gel turban and dusty chainmail and clutching a bronze shield. As we know before, the dwarf is Bravis Boulderborn, a gold dwarf cleric of Modern and a former member of the Company of the Yellow Banner. And we've seen his death in Area 29. So as you access, if you're possessed by Nang Nang or Shimbagwe, so we've not seen Shimbagwe yet, so her tomb is on level 4. Skittish yet greedy Nang Nang wants her host to loot the corpse of the dead dwarf before anyone else can, while Shimbagwe suggests that there might be a clue nearby to suggest which floor tiles are safe to step on. So the clue to open this sarcophagus is the floor tiles, and if you step on the floor tiles in the correct order, the sarcophagus will open. So your characters can fly over the tiles to make sure they're not stepped on, or they can make a strength saving throw, or they can climb the walls, which requires a DC 20 strength athletics check. If any of your characters steps on a floor tile, let's say step here, if any other character stepping on 35A, this stone block will rise. If any character stepping there, they potentially can be crushed. So you need to make a DC 7 dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, they take 10d10 bludgeoning damage. And if they're reduced to 0, they're crushed to a bloody pulp. So that's one thing to watch out for, is to make sure that your party potentially could kill a party mate. So once your characters step on a tile, this seals up, and they're locked in this room until they walk over the correct floor tiles, or they fly through the top into level 2, or they go through entrance 29. So let's say your characters step on this urn here, which is the wrong tile. They're going to cause these 4 sphinxes in the corners to release magical locusts from their mouths. The locusts are then going to form around this tile in a 15-foot cube, and each character within this cube is going to take 8d10 piercing damage every turn for 1 minute unless they flee. If they're reduced to 0 hit points, they're going to be eaten by these locusts, and they're going to die, and they're going to suffer similar fate to this dwarf right here. So if your characters come into this room and cast Detect Magic on these sphinxes, they notice an error of abjuration and conjuration magic. I've actually done another representation of Ijin's tomb. This is 34, so this is the peeping hole. So let's see your character standing here. So they can see through this. This peephole looks directly at the medallion, and let's see a character stands in the tile, which is the vulture. This tile right here. He'll then be able to hear this character telepathically, and then he'll say what the next dial is. So what happens if your character's coming from above? Well, they'll come in, and they'll just see these floor tiles. And if you step in these floor tiles, these sphinxes will release locusts that will do a massive amount of damage. So this puzzle requires quite a lot of teamwork. The way it's supposed to be set is that your character will walk in, this will close, and who's standing here can telepathically talk to them. So what is the correct order then? So we start off with a vulture, then they're going to step on the serpent, so the serpent will be here. They'll then step on the door, then it's the reed, then it's the scarab, then on to the scepter, and then finally they'll arrive at the foot, and then the urn, and then they can access the tomb. So they step on all these floor tiles, they can then open up Ijin's tomb and access whatever's inside. So when you step on the final tile, Ijin's sarcophagus opens, the stone block to Area 35 sinks into the floor, creating an open passage to the east. Any locusts conjured by the Sphinx statues are dispelled. The hieroglyphic floor is disabled after 24 hours. Weather sends his tomb dwarfs to fix the trap. So what's in the sarcophagus then? Well, Ijin's golden sarcophagus cannot be opened by any means other than stepping on the right floor tiles, which we've seen earlier on. The sarcophagus is worth 7,500 gold pieces. and weighs 75 pounds. However, if you try to remove the sarcophagus, it will cause 4 floor-to-ceiling walls of force, like those created by a wall of force spell, to surround the Dallas on all 4 sides. They always last until destroyed, or until the sarcophagus is returned to its barge. So the only way to destroy a wall of force is by casting Disintegrate. Inside the sarcophagus contains the fragile bones of Adrai, Ijin's animal form, as well as a spiral horn which functions as a wand of wonder. The horn turns to dust and is destroyed when it leaves the tomb. Let your characters follow his flaw the whole way through the tomb. So you grab the Wand of Wonder, streamers of light emulate from the tip of the horn. As they swirl around you, they form into a spectral rabbit with a single horn on its brow. A female voice whispers, "Quick, quick, let me in. We must stop a Serac." What is Ijin's item and what is her flaw? Ijin the Anrai is fickle and unpredictable. Your flaw, when hampered by Ijin, you gain the following flaw, which overrides any opposing flaw. I never stick to a plan. And its power, which I believe is one of the better ones. While Ijin inhabits you, your dexterity score becomes 23 unless it's already higher. So if you've got a rogue or you've got anyone who uses dex-based weapons or is very stealthy, this is a massive boon for them. However, they can never stick to a plan. So what is a Wand of Wonder then? So a Wand of Wonder is a wand with 7 charges. You can use an action to expend one of its charges and choose a target within 120 feet of you. The target can be a creature, an object, or a point in space. You then roll a D100 and consult the table to discover what happens. The Wand of Wonder is rolling the dice. Many effects can happen. So when my characters went into Ijin's tomb, I had a rogue who multi-classed with the College of Swords, and that boon to dexterity made his sneak attack and all his attacks. Because of this, it was very difficult for him to miss anything, and it made the game very fun for him, especially how he role-played the whole fact of that he never stuck to a plan. I really enjoy Ijin. I thought it was a fantastic trickster god. However, we never actually use the Wand of Wonder because of how random and how unpredictable it is. So let's have a quick look to see what spells it can cast. So with the Wand of Wonder, we have a multitude of different spells. So we have some good ones. You can cast slow, you can cast Fairy Fire, you can stun yourself. It has pros and cons. For instance, you can cast Lightning Bolt at someone, or you can cast Fireball at yourself. You can turn your skin bright blue, as in this staff is like having a Wild Magic Sorcerer as an item. And let me know in the comments if any of your characters used this during the campaign and what happened. I'll be very interested. So what other treasure was in the tomb then? Well, Bravis' yellow turban, the dwarf on the floor, had a Preriot gemstone worth 500 gold pieces. He yields a non-magical shield and a belt pouch containing a 500 gold piece diamond, the material component for a Raise Dead spell. And he has 2 1-inch diameter crystal eyeballs, 1 dark blue and 1 vibrant purple. And these are keys to the Beholder's Vault in Area 44. That's his finished Ijin's tomb. So in the next episode, we're going to look at Kuzaban's tomb here, and we're going to go over all these small rooms and explain how you can access the vault for the Beholder in 44B. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Ciao.